I don't remember a time when my sister Madison wasn't the center of attention. Even as a kid, she had this magnetism that pulled people in like gravity. She walked into a room, and everything bent toward her. I used to think maybe I was just imagining it, that I was being dramatic. But now, at 31, I know what I saw. I lived it. I still live in the shadow of her loud laugh and flashing smile. I'm Rachel, the quiet one. The serious one. The one who takes everything too personally. That's what my mom always said. Rachel, don't be so sensitive. It's just a joke. Every time Madison humiliated me, poked fun at me, or made me the butt of a joke in front of family or friends, it was brushed aside as harmless humor. But it didn't feel harmless when I was 6, and she cut up my favorite dress to turn it into a Halloween costume for her Barbie. It didn't feel harmless when I was 10 and she read my diary out loud at the family barbecue. And it sure as hell didn't feel harmless when she stole my college acceptance letter from the mailbox and kept it hidden for 3 weeks as a prank. I grew up in Baltimore in a modest 2-story home that always smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and my dad's cologne. My mom, Denise, worked part-time at a dental office, and my dad, Greg, ran a small auto parts store. We weren't rich, but we had enough. Madison and I shared a room until she was 14, and every inch of that space was a battleground. She'd blast her music at night, even though I was trying to study. She'd accidentally spill her soda all over my textbooks. She once replaced all the photos in my scrapbook with cutouts of cows. Literally. Cows. She said it was art. My parents laughed when she showed them. She's just being creative, Rach. Don't be such a downer. I learned early on that crying got me nowhere. If I cried, I was being dramatic. If I spoke up, I was being jealous. I wasn't charismatic like Madison. I didn't light up a room. I read books about architecture and painted watercolors in silence. I lined up my pencils by color. I didn't like loud noises or surprises. I liked things to make sense. Madison thrived on chaos. She was popular. Homecoming queen. Varsity cheerleader. She once convinced our entire high school that she'd auditioned for American Idol, with fake confirmation emails and a whole elaborate story. It wasn't even senior prank day. By the time I was 15, I started hiding things from her. My sketchbooks. My phone. My passwords. Once, I got a letter from a boy I liked. His name was Liam, and we sat next to each other in geometry. He wrote that he liked how I always drew little cities in the margins of my notebook and asked if I wanted to see a movie. Madison found the letter, photocopied it, and passed it out at school. I didn't show up for 2 days after that. I told my parents I was sick. When they found out the truth, they didn't say much. My mom told me, she's just jealous because you're smart. But she didn't punish her. Madison, of course, denied it. Said she found the copies in someone else's locker. I was trying to protect you, she said. Do you know what kind of creeps are out there? That guy could have been a stalker. I stopped trusting her completely after that. Despite everything, I managed to do well in school. I got a scholarship to study interior design at a college in Philadelphia. I packed up and left the day after my graduation ceremony. Madison didn't even come. She was at some beach party with friends, and my parents didn't think it was fair to force her to attend. I mean, it's just a drive, Mom said. She'll see you at Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving came, and Madison brought her new boyfriend, Tyler, a pre-med with a jawline that probably got him more free drinks than his GPA. She barely said hello to me. Just made fun of my haircut, which I had gotten 2 weeks before and actually liked. Very architect Barbie, she said, smirking as she tossed her curls. That night, as we sat around the table, she told everyone that I used to sleep with a nightlight until I was 13. My dad laughed so hard he choked on his mashed potatoes. I wanted to disappear. No one noticed when I left the room. These memories may sound small, maybe even petty to someone on the outside, but they added up over time. They formed a wall. Brick by brick, every joke, every prank. Every time she made me feel like less than, they built something I couldn't get over. I remember one night when I was 20, home for the summer after my sophomore year. I had a presentation coming up for a design internship. I'd spent days building a miniature model of a sustainable apartment complex. Madison came home drunk from a party, stumbled into the living room where I was working, and collapsed onto the model. Crushed it completely. I screamed. I actually screamed. She sat up and laughed. Oops. I looked at my parents, who'd come running in. She didn't mean to, my dad said. She's drunk, Rachel, my mom added. Give her a break. No one asked if I was okay. No one offered to help me rebuild it. I stayed up all night redoing it, eyes burning, hands shaking. When I moved to New York after graduation and got my first job at a small interior design firm, I didn't even tell Madison. I changed my number. I gave my parents my work address instead of my apartment. I needed space. I needed boundaries. I thought if I could just get away, maybe I could finally breathe. But distance doesn't erase history. It lingers. It presses on you when you least expect it. Madison would pop back into my life at random times. She got engaged to Tyler. Didn't tell me. I found out through a tagged Facebook photo. I didn't even get a wedding invitation. Later, she claimed it was lost in the mail. My parents said she assumed I was too busy. Last year, at Christmas, she showed up 3 hours late, loud and glowing as always, carrying gifts wrapped in shiny silver paper. She handed me a box with a smirk. Inside was a miniature Barbie dollhouse with plastic furniture. Thought you could use some inspiration for your little projects, she said, winking. I didn't open another gift that night. What hurt more than her constant mocking was that my parents still defended her. Still saw her as the golden child. They called me too serious, too cold, too distant. I didn't tell them how much I'd paid in therapy just to unlearn their voices in my head. I wasn't cold. I was exhausted. To everyone else, Madison was magnetic. To me, she was a black hole. She took, and nothing I gave was ever enough. I didn't need her to love me. I just wanted her to stop. Now, as an adult, I know better than to expect change. People don't shift that much, not when they've always been praised for staying the same. Madison was the star, and I was the quiet one in the wings. But even stars burn out eventually. And me? I'm still here. Still designing. Still building a life brick by brick. This time without her knocking it down. I had worked on that project for 6 months. 6 months of design consultations, late-night renderings, vendor negotiations, site visits, and stress-induced insomnia. The contract was with the Montgomery Group, a real estate investment firm planning to launch a boutique hotel chain starting with a flagship property in Tribeca. They wanted something bold but intimate. New York modernism with emotional texture. Their lead investor, Glenn Parker, had told me on our first call. It was the kind of job that could make my entire career. I was 31, the lead interior designer at Hartley & Monroe, a mid-sized firm in Manhattan. We weren't massive like some of the luxury studios uptown, but we were respected. And I clawed my way up over 5 years to get the title and trust that came with it. This was my first solo pitch. $250,000 was just the starting number. With add-ons and scale-outs, this could have turned into $1 million retainer. Everyone in the office knew that. The presentation was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Tuesday in April. I'd spent the weekend perfecting the design board. High-res printouts of concept sketches, material swatches pinned to foam core, a carefully chosen color palette labeled with Pantone codes, a 3D rendered scale model built from scratch by my assistant Chloe, and a short concept reel projected on a loop. I didn't sleep the night before. I kept pacing my apartment, double-checking everything. My boyfriend Leo tried to calm me down. "You've done the work, Ratch," he said, pulling me into his chest. "They're gonna love it." I arrived at the office by 6:15 a.m. on presentation day. The boardroom was empty, everything where I'd left it. I ran through the slides, checked the projector, arranged the seating. The board was still wrapped in its protective cover. At 9:50, Glenn Parker arrived with 2 associates, Mara, their lead developer, and Nathan, a new investor. My boss, Elaine Monroe, came in, followed by our firm's founder, Thomas Hartley himself, which surprised me. He didn't usually attend pitches anymore, but this was that important. I walked them through my vision, the Tribeca intimate. Luxury without ostentation. Custom terrazzo floors, vertical gardens in every third room, walnut accents, velvet paneling, sound muffling insulation, scent curation per floor. The works. "Now let me show you the physical board," I said, my hands shaking slightly as I peeled the cover off. The silence that followed was instant and suffocating. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Instead of the real design board, there was, I don't even know how to describe it. It looked like something out of a high school parody skit. The foam core was spray-painted hot pink. In place of my sketches were crude hand-drawn cartoons of stick figures wearing sunglasses and captioned with speech bubbles like, "Welcome to Budget Boudoir, where everything's tacky and flammable." There was a glitter-covered miniature couch made of Barbie limbs glued together. Someone had scribbled Art Deco but for clowns across the top in permanent marker. A swatch labeled velvet was actually a square of sparkly purple felt. There was a smell coming off it, coconut-scented body spray. I stood frozen. The air went still. Glenn looked at Mara. Mara looked at me. Elaine's face went pale. Thomas Hartley actually took off his glasses and cleaned them, like maybe he was hallucinating. "What exactly are we looking at here?" Glenn asked, his tone ice cold. I couldn't breathe. This isn't the board. Someone switched it. This isn't mine. Is this some kind of satire? Mara asked. A commentary on, what, the over-glamorization of hotel design? No, this is not the presentation. I don't know how this got here. The rail board was here yesterday, I swear. Chloe helped me pack it up. I turned to Elaine. "You saw it. On Friday. You saw the original." She nodded slowly. "Yes, she did. This isn't what she showed us. But it didn't matter. The damage was done." Glenn stood up. "I'm sorry, but we don't have time for disorganization at this scale. We trusted your firm with this bid, and now I feel like I'm being mocked. I swear to you, this is not my work," I said again, my voice cracking. "Please, just give me an hour. I can bring the right board from home. I'll show you the render files." Glenn was already walking out. Nathan followed. Mara gave me one last glance. "Whatever this was," she said, "you should have double-checked your materials. In our world, perception is everything." Elaine didn't say a word. Thomas shook his head and left the room. I sank into a chair, my legs numb. Chloe came running in 5 minutes later, breathless and pale. "Rachel, the board, it's not in the storage closet. It's gone." I nodded, feeling everything unravel. "I know." We reviewed the security footage. There was a blind spot in the storage hallway. Of course there was. No one had seen anyone go in. There was no record of who had access. Just a missing board and a mockery in its place. That night, I got drunk for the first time in years. Leo tried to console me, but I couldn't even listen. I kept playing it over in my head, over and over again. Who would do this? And why? The next morning, I got an email from a private account with no name. Subject line, hope you liked my art project. The attachment was a photo of the rail board. Torn up, burned around the edges. Someone had stomped on the model. One of the velvet samples had been lit on fire. In the background, I could see the inside of my parents' garage. My blood ran cold. I drove to Baltimore the next day without telling anyone. My parents were out when I arrived, but Madison was there. In the living room, painting her nails. She looked up at me with her usual smirk. Hey Ratch. Heard things went bad at work. Bummer. I stared at her. You did it. Did what? You broke into my office and switched the boards. She blinked innocently. Why would I do that? I have a photo, I said. Of the real one. In the garage. You send it. From a burner email. I recognize the garage walls. The green stain on the concrete. That's from the time Dad dropped the paint can. She didn't deny it. She just smiled. Wow. You're really detail-oriented. No wonder you're in interior design. My chest was tight. Why, Madison? Why the hell would you do something like this? She stood up, casually capping her nail polish. Because you needed to be knocked down a peg. Excuse me. You act like you're better than everyone. Always so perfect. Always so serious. Guess what? People don't like ice queens. You don't get to have the dream job, the mature life, the perfect little loft in the city, and pretend like you're above the rest of us. I've never once said I'm better than you. But you think it. I took a shaky breath. You've always hated me. No, she said, shrugging. I don't hate you. I just think it's hilarious how easy it is to break you. I could lose my job. You won't, she said, waving it off. They love you too much. But maybe next time you won't be so smug. I wanted to hit her. For the first time in my life, I wanted to physically hurt her. But I didn't. Instead, I walked out. Elaine didn't fire me, but she did take me off all client-facing projects until further notice. Chloe wasn't allowed to assist me anymore. I was benched. The office started whispering. I could feel it. I heard someone call me performance art girl in the break room. Madison didn't just sabotage my project. She stripped away my credibility. In an industry where trust is everything, I was now a punchline. And the worst part? My parents didn't even believe me. I showed them the photo. I told them what she said. But they just looked at me like I was paranoid. You're both grown women, Mom said. This feud has gone on long enough. It's not a feud, I said. It's abuse. You're too sensitive, Dad added. Always have been. So that was it. A $250,000 contract. Gone. My reputation? Shattered. My parents? Useless. And Madison? Still smirking. I didn't wake up one morning and decide to destroy Madison. That kind of revenge doesn't happen impulsively. It takes planning, precision, time, and the right people. It started 6 weeks after the boardroom disaster. My career was still limping. I'd been removed from high-profile assignments, my name quietly omitted from client emails. I came into work, did my time, and left. There was a stiffness now in how people talked to me, as if I were contagious. The design world isn't kind to tarnished reputations. You don't get second chances unless you've got a PR team or famous parents. I had neither. I hadn't spoken to Madison since the confrontation in our parents' house. She kept her smug silence, and our family never acknowledged it. But something in me changed after that visit. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was clarity. I'd spent my whole life reacting to her, suffering her, hoping someone would notice. No more. I wanted her to feel it. The confusion, the humiliation, the complete unraveling of control. But I didn't want to scream or confront or throw things. I wanted to make it look like karma had finally come to collect. That's when I thought of Harper. I'd met Harper Langdon through a client 2 years earlier. She was an interior lifestyle influencer with a following of nearly 800,000. Her aesthetic was pristine minimalism, high-contrast neutrals, dramatic lighting, soft linens, French candles. Think Gwyneth Paltrow's brainchild, and a Pinterest algorithm had a baby. We'd collaborated on a loft renovation in Brooklyn, and while she wasn't exactly warm, she respected me. More importantly, she hated phonies. We grabbed coffee at a place in Soho that served $9 oat milk lattes with crushed lavender on top. I laid everything out. Madison. The sabotage. The lifetime of cruelty. The humiliation in front of my entire industry. When I told her about the glitter Barbie board, Harper actually choked on her drink. Okay, that's diabolical. But kind of genius, she said, wiping her mouth. Like if a high school mean girl developed an Etsy habit and a god complex. She's not dumb, I said. She just hides her nastiness under charm. And you want to get even? No, I replied calmly. I want to make her implode. But I want her to do it herself. Harper leaned back. Go on. That's when I pitched the idea. We'd stage a fake influencer campaign. A made-up collaboration between Harper and a high-end design sponsor. Something believable. We'd call it a glow-up grant. A one-time opportunity to win a luxury $40,000 interior redesign, styled and executed by Harper's team and professionally filmed for exposure. All someone had to do was submit a video application explaining why they deserved it. Harper loved it. She immediately began working on graphics. We created a fake landing page with mock testimonials and staged before and after shots from past winners. We used stock images and altered metadata to look legitimate. Harper announced the contest on her socials as part of a spring reset campaign, tagging a fictitious sponsor called Ambra Living. The whole thing screamed polished and real. Then I baited the trap. I messaged Madison from a burner Instagram account. The persona was Serena E., a micro-influencer and brand coordinator for Ambra. I commented on one of Madison's recent thirst traps, her in a towel, holding a smoothie, and said, "Hey babe, you'd be perfect for a luxury room glow-up we're doing with Harper Langdon. DMs open if interested." She messaged within 5 minutes. "Hey girl, what's the deets?" The arrogance practically leaked through the screen. She didn't even ask questions, just wanted to know how fast she could be featured. I sent her the link to the contest. She applied with a 1-minute video titled "Why I Deserve a Glow-Up." Harper and I watched it together over wine that night. In it, Madison sat on her bed, hair curled, wearing a silky camisole. She said she'd had a hard couple years due to toxic people trying to dim her light. She claimed she'd put others first for too long and now wanted a sanctuary that reflected the goddess energy she'd worked so hard to earn. She finished by blowing a kiss and saying, "Choose me because I'm a whole-ass mood." Harper nearly fell out of her chair laughing. We let 2 weeks go by before sending her the acceptance letter. From there, things accelerated. We told her she was one of 4 finalists. That part was important. It gave her competition to fight against. We invented the other 3, Camilla, a struggling single mom, Jaya, an art therapist, and Danny, a body-positive fashion designer. We built fake profiles for each, with strategically curated photos and made-up quotes. We told all 4 finalists they'd need to complete a series of video challenges, themed assignments showing their taste, their personality, their vulnerability. Madison went full performance mode. For the first challenge, design mood board, your dream space. She created a clashing monstrosity of glitter walls, leopard rugs, LED flamingo signs, and gold sequins. We praised it in emails to keep her hooked. The second challenge was transformation testimony, where each contestant had to share a story of personal growth. Madison submitted a 5-minute sob story about how she was betrayed by people she helped, and how she survived trauma from haters trying to ruin her success. At one point she actually cried. Harper and I exchanged glances. "She's got tears on command." "That's terrifying," Harper said. Challenge 3 was Real Talk Behind the Glow, where each finalist had to upload a private video sharing a moment they weren't proud of, something raw. We told them it wouldn't be posted but would help us understand the humanity behind the influencer. The other 3, our own creations, uploaded vague, harmless clips. Madison, believing she had the win locked in, submitted a 7-minute confessional in which she admitted to pulling a savage prank on her sister that low-key destroyed her job, but that, honestly, she needed it. She didn't name me, but the story was unmistakable. She laughed through it. She was always such a mopey little thing, like the kind of girl who organizes her sock drawer by emotion. So I switched her presentation board. Not even sorry. If she can't take a joke, maybe she shouldn't be in a creative industry, you know? She sipped wine and smirked at the camera. That was all I needed. The final phase of the plan came 2 weeks later. We announced that Madison had won. She received a personalized email with confetti graphics and a call scheduled with Harper. We told her the big reveal video would be filmed in a production studio in Manhattan, under the guise of filming the before portion of her room transformation. Harper rented out a space. She hired a videographer and makeup team to make it look real. Madison showed up in a designer dress and heels, hair curled, ready to be adored. We mic'd her up, sat her under lights, and asked her to reflect on the journey. She did. Boy, did she. She trashed the other finalists, calling them charity bait. Said the single mom story was probably fake. Said Harper's team was lucky to have her brand attached. It was pure poison wrapped in glitter. When we finally said, "Let's watch the surprise reveal video together," she squealed with excitement. The screen behind her lit up. What played wasn't her dream room design. It was her confession. Cut and edited with timestamps, close-ups, and receipts. Her face on screen, laughing about destroying her sister's work, mocking my career, ridiculing my emotions. Everything she thought she had gotten away with. She went pale. The crew stayed quiet. Harper said gently, "Still feel like a whole-ass mood?" Madison stood up, yanked off her mic, and stormed out of the studio. We never saw her again. The video never went online. We weren't aiming for public humiliation, just private devastation. But she knew. She knew the truth had been documented. She knew we could leak it if she ever tried to twist the narrative again. A week later, she deleted half her social media. A cryptic story post appeared, just a black screen and the words, "Taking a break." Some people aren't who you think. The irony nearly killed me. Our parents called me 2 days later. "She's been crying nonstop," Mom said. "She won't tell us what happened." "I guess she's dealing with some consequences," I replied. "Probably good for her." Dad asked if I knew anything. I said no. They didn't press. They never do. And me? I didn't feel victorious. I felt calm, like a system had finally reset. I wasn't waiting for justice anymore. I had delivered it myself. And it was precise. Quiet. Perfect. The silence lasted 2 weeks. No texts from Madison. No cryptic Instagram posts. No selfies in a towel. No brunch stories. No hashtags about cleansing her energy. Just a quiet, echoing void. And I didn't expect it to matter to me, but it did. Not in a nostalgic way, Just in that eerie, unsettling feeling you get when the chaos stops and you're not sure if the silence is peace or the warning before a storm. Then I got a call. It was from a number I didn't recognize, but when I picked up, it was her. Madison. Her voice was smaller than I remembered it ever being. Can I talk to you? I said nothing for a second. Then, you were talking to me. I mean, can we meet? I agreed, reluctantly. We met at a neutral place, some quiet little coffee shop in the Upper West Side that I chose deliberately because I knew it wouldn't be filled with influencers or anyone she knew. When I walked in, she was already there. No makeup. Hoodie. Hair in a bun that looked more like an accident than a style. She looked uncomposed. That was new. I messed up, she said before I even sat down. Worse than I've ever messed up. I raised an eyebrow. You're going to have to narrow it down. She didn't bite at the sarcasm, which was also new. I've been thinking a lot. Since the video. Since everything. She swallowed. And people are starting to see it. The way I treat people. The way I used to. Used to. She sighed. Fine. The way I treat people. Present tense. I've lost pretty much all of my support circle. They didn't even ghost me. They just left. Fully blocked. Unfollowed. Gone. I tilted my head. Why now? Because someone finally showed them who I really am. I waited. She kept going. Do you remember Sabrina Milner? She and I were best friends for most of high school. Well, she thought we were. I nodded. I remembered Sabrina. Small, soft-voiced. Always carried a sketchpad. Quiet like me, but braver somehow. She'd go toe-to-toe with Madison when they fought, but she'd always end up crying. Madison looked down at her coffee. She messaged me last week. Said she saw the clip. The one from the studio. She said she wasn't surprised, just finally validated. I didn't say anything. I told her I wanted to talk. She agreed. We met up yesterday. I blinked. You actually met her? Yeah. She made me sit outside at a public park bench. Said I didn't deserve a private room. How poetic. She told me everything I ever did to her. Point by point. The fake rumors. The time I accidentally deleted her college application. The time I stole her designs and entered them in a youth arts contest under my name. My head snapped up. You did what? I was 16. I thought it was funny. And now, I wanted to crawl into a sewer and never come out. I studied her. Did you apologize? I did. And not just a sorry you feel that way kind of thing. I told her I was wrong. I didn't explain it. I didn't defend it. I just listened. I sipped my tea. And she cried. Then told me to leave. Sounds fair. She nodded slowly. It was. I almost believed her. Almost. Then she said something that knocked the breath out of me. I want to change. And I need help. From you. I leaned back. You want my help to be a better person? I don't know how else to learn. Yeah, you have boundaries. You have empathy. I don't. I never did. I don't even understand where the line is until I've already stomped over it. I watched her for a long moment. Then I said the thing I never thought I'd say, okay. But only if you meet Lena first. Her eyes widened. Lena Hoffman? I nodded. Lena was a girl Madison used to call Lizard Lena. Why? Because Lena had a rare skin condition that caused scaly patches on her arms. Madison made it her mission to turn Lena's entire 7th grade into hell. By the end of the year, Lena had been pulled out and transferred to another school. Rumor was, she stopped speaking for months. Madison looked down. I didn't even remember her name until a week ago. I do, I said. She was my lab partner in biology. And she used to hide in the nurse's office during lunch just to avoid you. Madison nodded again. If you can find her, I'll go. That surprised me. 3 days later, I tracked Lena down through a mutual friend who still lived in Baltimore. Lena was working as a medical illustrator now, living in DC. When I called her, I was nervous. More nervous than I expected. I asked if she'd be willing to meet Madison. To my shock, she said yes. She doesn't deserve it, she added, but I want to say some things. To her face. We met in a small conference room at a WeWork space Lena had access to. Madison showed up wearing a blazer and no makeup. She looked like someone headed to a job interview and a funeral at the same time. Lena sat at the table, arms crossed. The air was tight. Hi, Madison said, barely above a whisper. Lena didn't respond. I don't even know where to start. I do, Lena said calmly. Start with, I hurt you. Not, I'm sorry if, or, I didn't mean to. Just own it. Madison nodded. I hurt you. I bullied you. I turned your life into a joke for my own amusement. I knew it was wrong. And I did it anyway. Because it made me feel powerful. The room went still. Lena looked straight at her. Do you know what that year did to me? No, Madison admitted. I developed a stutter. For 2 years. I couldn't speak in class. I flinched every time someone laughed near me. I started peeling my own skin off because I thought it was disgusting. My mom found blood on my bedsheets and took me to therapy. You were the face behind my panic attacks. Madison's voice broke. I'm sorry. You don't get forgiveness, Lena said flatly. You just get to live with what you did. Madison nodded. I can do that. After Lena left, Madison just sat there. She didn't cry. She didn't monologue. She just sat. I watched her, trying to find the angle, waiting for the mask to slip. But it didn't. Later that week, She emailed Harper. Not to threaten. Not to complain. Just to say thank you. I know you didn't do what you did for me, the email said. But it worked. Something broke open. I needed to see myself like that. I just hope it's not too late. Harper forwarded me the email with no commentary. By then, Madison had started therapy. Real therapy. Weekly. With someone named Dr. Rima Patel. She gave me the name unsolicited. Almost like proof. She asked me if she could meet Sabrina again. This time not to talk. Just to listen. Sabrina agreed. Barely. They met in a bookstore cafe in DC. I tagged along but stayed 2 tables back, pretending to read. Sabrina laid it all out again. More stories I didn't even know. A birthday party Madison sabotaged by inviting Sabrina's ex and making them do karaoke together. A time Madison outed Sabrina's crush to the entire class. A video she posted that got Sabrina bullied online for months. Madison didn't say a word. Just nodded. At the end, she simply said, I can't make it better. But I'm not going to forget. Sabrina left quietly. No hug. No handshake. But she texted me later. That might have been real. After that, Madison started doing things I'd never seen her do. She deleted half her Instagram content and archived all sponsored posts. She stopped tagging brands. She took a break from social media entirely for a month. She wrote physical letters to 3 old friends she used to manipulate, Kelsey, Jordan, and Becca, and hand-delivered them. She left me out of it. Didn't ask for credit. Didn't post about it. Just did it. I wasn't ready to trust her. Not fully. But I didn't feel sick when I saw her name on my phone anymore. And that was something. Some things don't happen with a bang. Sometimes they unfold quietly, like the slow realignment of tectonic plates deep under the earth. That's how the shift with Madison began. Not dramatic. Not sudden. Just quieter. We weren't suddenly friends. We didn't start texting good mornings. But the air between us wasn't poisonous anymore. It felt neutral. And after everything we'd been through, neutrality felt like peace. I was too busy to dwell on it anyway. A month after Madison met with Lena, I got a call that changed the trajectory of my entire career. Elaine buzzed my office line one Tuesday morning and asked me to come upstairs. Her tone was unreadable, which was never a good sign. When I walked into the conference room, I found Elaine seated across from 2 men in sleek, dark suits. One of them stood up, extended his hand, and introduced himself. David Klein, VP of Development at Vestra Resorts. Vestra. My brain short-circuited for a second. Vestra was one of the most exclusive resort brands on the East Coast. Luxury spaces in Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut. Discreet properties. 8-figure builds. A reputation for ruthless aesthetic standards. The man next to him, softer spoken, introduced himself as Oliver. We've been watching your work for a while, Rachel, David said. Your eco-urbanism proposal from 2 years ago. Your use of vertical texture. Even the failed Montgomery pitch. Yes, we heard about it. But it told us something. I held my breath. It told us you had vision. And guts. We don't care about accidents. We care about instinct. Elaine handed me a folder across the table. Inside was a preliminary RFP. The proposed budget, $750,000. The brief, conceptualize and lead the full design of a new Vestra flagship in Hudson, New York. A hybrid nature retreat meets creative lodge concept. Opening, 14 months. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the number. Then at the words, lead designer. Then back again. We want your ideas on our desk in 2 weeks, David said. And if we like them, you'll get the contract. Elaine smiled, genuinely. It's yours to lose. I didn't sleep for the next 12 nights. But this time, it wasn't panic that kept me up. It was electricity. I pulled out every sketchpad, every digital archive I'd stored, every photo from hikes, every leaf I'd pressed between pages for inspiration. Chloe, who'd been quietly loyal through my firm-wide fallout, helped me after hours unpaid, just because she believed in me. We submitted the pitch on a Wednesday morning. By Thursday night, I got the call. They wanted me. No qualifiers. No board approvals pending. Me. I was back. The office changed overnight. Suddenly people were warm again. My name was spoken with respect, not whispered behind coffee mugs. Chloe got a raise. Elaine invited me to speak on a panel about sustainable luxury. Thomas Hartley sent a congratulatory bottle of champagne to my apartment with a note that read, "Told you some embers just take longer to catch." But it wasn't the contract that stunned me most. It was what happened after. My mother called. It was early on a Saturday morning. I was organizing paint swatches, still in pajamas, hair a mess, coffee forgotten on the counter. When I picked up, I expected the usual, a passive-aggressive comment about how I never call or a family update I didn't ask for. But her voice was trembling. "I saw the article," she said. Vestra had posted a feature on their site with a full designer spotlight, my background, my philosophy, even a pull quote about how I'd almost lost faith in my own work, but didn't. "I read every word," Mom continued. "Twice. And then I just cried." I waited. Not sure what to say. "I didn't listen to you for years, Rachel," she said. "I didn't hear you. I let your sister walk all over you, and when you told me it hurt, I told you to get over it. And now I see you, really see you, and I don't know how to fix what I broke." I sat down on the floor. "You can't," I said. "But I appreciate you saying that." She sniffed. I want to be better. Not just with you. With myself. I started reading a book about parenting adult children. It said the worst thing a parent can do is ignore the emotional wounds they caused. I was too shocked to speak. And then, because the universe is never done, she added, your sister's the one who sent me the article. She said, you should see the real Rachel. I had to put the phone down for a second. Madison, meanwhile, had taken a very strange turn. Strange for her, anyway. She signed up for something called the Empathic Learning Collective, an in-person course designed for educators, mentors, and social workers. I didn't even know they let you in if your resume consisted of brand endorsements and sponsored eyelash serums, but apparently, she'd applied with a brutally honest essay and gotten accepted on a probationary basis. She didn't tell me. Harper did. She used my name as a reference. Harper texted me. Told them I knew the worst version of her and could vouch for her willingness to change. The course was 6 weeks long. Every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. No phones. No exits. Weekly group work and personal accountability challenges. I asked her over lunch a week in what she was learning. How to shut the hell up, she said flatly. How to listen. And that not everything needs a punchline. I laughed. I couldn't help it. She didn't. Yesterday, we watched a documentary about emotional neglect. There was a scene where a teenage girl said her mom never defended her when her older brother made fun of her. And she thought maybe that meant her mom didn't actually like her. My breath hitched. She could have been describing us, Madison said. Except it was me doing the mocking. That was when she told me about the exercise they'd assigned her. She had to write letters, real, physical letters, to every person she'd disregarded emotionally. Not just people she bullied, but people she dismissed, manipulated, or ignored. You'll be getting yours in the mail, she said. It's the rules. I got it 4 days later. It wasn't long, but it was real. She wrote, you built your life despite me, not because of me. I used to think you were a shadow I had to outshine, but I realize now I was the shadow. You were just trying to grow past it. I kept that letter. Still haven't answered it. The last shock came from someone I never expected to speak up. Jordan Hammond. He was one of Madison's ex-boyfriends from back in high school. She used to brag about how he'd follow her around like a puppy. But after they broke up, she told people he stalked her, which got him suspended for a week after a classmate accused him of watching her through the library window. She admitted to me one night, over wine, that she made the whole thing up because she was bored. He texted me, she said now, out of nowhere as we walked through Central Park. Jordan. He saw the letter I posted on the ELC forum. The one about accountability. I paused. He responded. He said I ruined part of his life, but he was glad I wasn't pretending it didn't happen. I looked at her. Really looked. No lashes. No filtered face. No performance. Just Madison. And I nodded. We didn't say anything else. Because for the first time in our lives, silence meant understanding. And that was enough.